Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi on Thursday said Pak Prime Minister Imran Khan bowled a googly to ensure the Indian government's presence at the groundbreaking ceremony of the landmark Kartarpur corridor. Qureshi's remarks came a day after External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj categorically ruled out the possibility of resumption of bilateral talks with Pakistan unless it stops cross-border terror activities against India. History has shown us that nothing that Pakistan says must be taken at face value. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze Pakistan's doublespeak. Joining me on the program today are Prabhu Dayal, former ambassador, Major General Ashwini Sawach, retired strategic expert, Major General Dhruv C. Katoch, retired Director, India Foundation, and Sreeram Chaulia, Dean, Jindal School of International Affairs. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Let me bring in Professor Chaulia also into the picture. Professor Chaulia, amidst all of this, there seems to be a message from Beijing as well. You know, a strong message being sent out to Pakistan where it has shown in a map that POK is an integral part of India. Now, that has happened for the first time, a big change, really.
Frank, I think the Chinese are worried about the safety of their investments. Given all the attacks that have been happening lately, remember the Chinese consulate in Karachi was recently besieged by militants. And so I think they are quite shocked at the risk that they are taking. And I think they have proprietary rights now to be able to dictate to the Pakistanis because the CPEC agreement is quite neo-colonial in its nature. But on Kartarpur, I want to add, Frank, that there's a certain kind of a playful banter with which the Pakistani PR is happening around this whole issue. They're trying to create a divide within India. For example, Imran Khan's speech at the inauguration said, "Arey Navjot Sidhu, isne kya crime kar diya? Bechare ko maar rahe hain wahan pe, just because he wants peace." So what they're trying in a devious way is to try and show that, look, in India, there is a peace constituency represented by people like Sidhu, but he's being held back by hardliners who don't want peace with Pakistan. On our side, we are fully unified, Imran says. We've got the military and the civilian are on the same page. Nawaz Sharif was made to say the same thing. Zardari was made to say the same thing. Benazir Bhutto used to say the same thing. The point is the reality and these gimmicks, there's a wide gap, and it's our responsibility to respond and to expose this and uncover this gimmickry and the PR tricks that they're trying to play. Because end of the day, India wants peace, but we also want justice for 2611 and for many other unaccounted crimes. So right. What we are saying is, let the Chinese come along with us. We say, let China and India work in tackling this sore spot, which is creating destabilization of the whole region. If we really want to do that at Wuhan and even before that at BRICS summits, Prime Minister Modi has spoken to President Xi Jinping and said, let us work and have a common understanding on terrorism and say no good or bad. And once we have that level of accommodation, it will completely marginalize and isolate Pakistan. But unfortunately, I think China is not willing to go that far because for them, Pakistan has always been a kind of a way to hem in India and to prevent us from equaling China strategically.
Important point that you're making, Professor. I'm going to take the point that you're making to the other guest. Professor Chaulia, how serious of what are the security implications really and how much of a concern is the proposed corridor, do you think?
Frank, recently the attack that happened in Amritsar on the Nirankaris, that the investigation is showing it is being traced back to a Pakistan-based rump element of a Khalistan movement, some so-called Harmeet Singh Happy, they are claiming. He's based there and he's the one who is recruiting via Dubai and connecting to the border districts of Indian Punjab like Firozpur, Gurdaspur and Amritsar and trying to recruit, jobless youth who are facing economic deprivation and purposelessness. So if they are able to do that already now, if we have large numbers of pilgrims going across, the moment they cross the border and go to and step into Pakistani soil and the shrine is 3 to 4 kilometers beyond the international border, we have very little control about their movements and who they are meeting and who they are talking to while they are on Pakistani soil. So if the recruitment can be done through online means and through diaspora as General Sivaj was saying, there is a even greater threat of recruitment happening. Let us say even 1% or 0.01% of these thousands of pilgrims who are going to go to Kartarpur can be brainwashed and sent back. This is like a very easy means to be able to trap young people and to make them see the reality as they portray it on that side. So I think it's very important if we must say that Kartarpur is good. It's a humanitarian gesture. It's a spiritual diplomacy and so on. Okay. But simultaneously, we need them to shut down who is this Harmeet Happy and all these, gangsters who are hiding there. And why can't they be handed over? I mean, forget their core assets like Hafiz Saeed. I mean, their point is Khalistani movement. And they think, I think right now, because they're vulnerable in Balochistan, and the so-called Baloch Liberation Army has become active. It even claimed attack on the Chinese consulate recently in Karachi. So they think the tit-for-tat game has to continue. If the Indians are somehow behind the Baloch Liberation Army, then we need to do the same to them by reviving Khalistan and other points. So I think we have to be very careful on this matter, and we have to ensure some degree of monitoring of what our own citizens who are crossing over are doing on the other side, and to also debrief them on the way back. It's a massive exercise if thousands of pilgrims are involved, but nonetheless, for our national security interests, we cannot prevent. Punjab already is a cauldron of drugs and corruption, and if it is combined along with cross-border movements and disguised terrorists, this is not uncommon. Even ISIS has done this, in the guise of refugees or just people moving across borders, but then they also engage in terrorism. So we've got to be very, very cautious now going forward. We welcome this gesture, but unless the Pakistanis move the other needle, which is shutting down the terror tap on these Khalistan groups, we cannot completely trust this process.
Okay, quick closing comment from you, Professor Chaulia.
Frank, I think, Imran Khan and their PSYOPs, psychological operations, will not wash. And I think we need to very clearly show that they are internally divided, and they need a kind of a unity on their side to be able to really offer genuine peace. And instead, they're trying to turn it around on us and say, look, we are divided, and they're using this whole thing, as I said, as a PR gimmick. So it's very important for us to reach out to Pakistani citizens. There are online forums, we have television, we have airways. There are so many ways in which we can actually return this, because otherwise the elites will keep the Pakistani people under the illusion that they are ready for peace and the Indians are obstructing peace. Unless that lie is uncovered completely and exposed like we have done today in Big Picture, it's going to be impossible to really achieve genuine peace. So we need to parda fash, we have to really remove the veil from this disingenuous game they're playing around Kartarpur Sahib.
And we need to act fast is what the panelists are suggesting. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it from me. See you again next time.